part of the Belarus thing was because was it the defense minister of Ukraine was like Russia should prepare for strikes further and further inside the country, and at the same time not taking credit for a lot of these things, not actually saying. I mean, they just had 3 weeks ago at the same time, and I don't think they're related, this aircraft carrier burned down. 22 people died in a nursing home facility that just burst into flames. Just burned to ground. That's it. 22 people. Like, there's an energy plant, power plant out in somewhere out in Siberia, in like really harsh Siberia. That went offline for days, and an entire city lost power. I'm with you, Hal. The more and more this stuff happens, the less and less I'm thinking it's simply sabotage.
Yeah.
I have been, it has been in my mind that much of this has been sabotage. And I still think to extent it has been.
Right.
But I think it's also because of the sanctions. It's because of the fact that they cannot keep their grid working, they can't keep their infrastructure working without getting supplies from externally from outside of Russia. And now that that's not happening, the gears of the infrastructure are starting to, they're not lubricated anymore, and they're starting to grind to a halt. And I think it's going to get worse. But I don't think it's as much sabotage as I originally thought.
Yeah.
I think it's going to
well, we talked on Wednesday when you came on the live stream about how Nokia and Ericsson, because the limit on the sanctions and how long they could stay in the country ended December 31st, and they just shut their laptops and left, or fired everybody and just stopped providing updates or anything. Beginning of the year, as anybody who went through Y2K knows, is one of the prime times of the year when you provide updates to software because of any myriad glitches that can happen because of calendar changes left over from Windows, or DOS, So, right? So, half of these could just be because nobody can call for help. They can't get a signal. There's a small fire turns into a big fire and burns everything to the ground because phone doesn't work. And you were counting on it, and now it doesn't because the sanctions have made it so that they can't. The reason I bring this up is because yesterday, day before yesterday, it's hard to tell in the time scale of when the news comes out, this Russian warehouse in St. Petersburg, an enormous one, just burned to the ground. The whole thing, it says turned to ashes overnight due to unknown causes. A total of 400 meters of the facility was reported destroyed by the fire. 400 meters squared, I guess? Yeah, 400 square meters. The blaze follows accounts of another fire this morning that burned through the roof of a shop in the village of Krasnoyarsk in the region of Russia. The one-story warehouse was located on the embankment in the city. According to the Russian Emergency Situations Ministry, more than 70 firefighters and 18 pieces of equipment were involved in removing the fire, which didn't get removed. That's how. Let me explain how hilarious that paragraph is. Russia said it took 18 pieces of equipment and more than 70 firefighters to put the fire out. They didn't put it out. It burned to the ground. It was over because it ran out of fuel. The warehouse is just gone. They're like, they extinguished the blaze at 7:10 a.m. Curiously in time with when the warehouse totally ceased to exist. And this is a regular occurrence.
It's becoming obvious. It's becoming obvious. And I'm talking, and also, by the way, I know it's mostly anecdotal, but I talk to my friends in Russia. And I talk to friends who left Russia, but are still in contact with their families back in the country. Everybody knows. Everybody can see it. They're desperately trying to ignore it in many instances. I mean, my job here, Steve, where he's like,
right.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
All of them wearing Tom Hinton blush, right? From Judicial Watch. They all had the guy from Judicial Watch's makeup artist. Yeah.
But it's obvious to everybody, I think. I think it's becoming more and more apparent. I think it's obvious. I think everybody's starting to realize it, that Russia's falling apart. It's really, this time, the scale of sanctions that are being put against Russia, and in fact that they just cannot maintain their infrastructure, it's going to get really, really bad for Russia.
I will say that there is one good sign in Trump world,
which might, explain, Trump's buoyant mood in the last little bit, is that Trump coin, which is his cryptocurrency, is currently worth a full penny more than the ruble. The ruble is
I was
worth.
just going to say, was it the ruble?
The ruble is worth a penny, and Trump coin is worth 2.6 pennies. And now, obviously, the exchange of the volume of it is much smaller because there are, millions, if not trillions, of rubles, that run the gamut. There are only $176,000 worth of Trump coin in existence, and whoever bought them in the very beginning lost their shirt when they were 50 cents and now worth $2. So, and are never going up again. But that said, the idea that the ruble. Oops, we lost Philip there. That might be a power thing. Hopefully he'll join us back in a second. Philip blinked out. Fingers crossed. But I will continue to talk. We got a couple more minutes before the break. We'll see if he comes back on. That always worries me when he's in an undisclosed location, when he just kind of blinks off.
He really wanted to tell us too. It was so sweet.
Oh, quit it. So, yeah, the ruble is, there's the ruble against the dollar. For all the people who go that Biden is crashing the dollar and the ruble is surging. No.
That's
not
good.
at all. No, that's not good. That's when your dollar is worth 15 cents. By the way, I think Russia's at, let's see, we'll check their inflation rate while we're at it, which is fun. And more of a, also not necessarily, it's hard to track by honestly, from inside. But it is currently at 11.9%. It went up 0.25% in the first 9 days, so it keeps climbing. So they're at 11.9%. We in the United States, our inflation is, let's see, let's go check in on the U.S. inflation number. Let's see, inflation. Yeah, consumer price gains continue to cool. In this, the inflation rate, let's see, is 5.7% if you exclude food and energy. Of course, egg prices will affect that because of the swine flu cull. I'm sure everybody's tweeting, by the way, at Philip to make sure that he's okay. And going, are you okay? Are you back on? We'll check in with him in the break as well. 6.5% in December, and then look at it going down like that. See that Johnny Million? The little spike, and the interestingly enough, it certainly went up, whooping, and it's going down just as precipitously. It's almost, these are not monetary issues, not about how much some people will notice that the COVID rebound and the insertion of the money into the system did not happen at the same time. The money came first, and then the ground dragged behind it, and then had another